All right, and here we are live, Friday night. Yeah, whenever I say that, it reminds me of Saturday Night Live. It's like live Saturday from New York City. It's Saturday night, blah blah blah. If you ever used to watch that show, but this is Friday night, and this is the Friday night block party. So, thank you to all you who are here and who have shown up and who are going to show up in a little bit. You won't see this unless you go back and hit rewind. But I tell you what, this week has been. I gotta say, it's been one heck of a week. It's been exciting for sure, and also here at the end of the week, I'm kind of tired. But I don't know what y'all have on your end as far as relaxation. If you have yourself a drink while you're curled up next to your phone or your laptop, I'm drinking a generic Dr. Pepper here. So, cheers to the next hour. So. Hopefully all of y'all are doing fantastic, and let me go ahead and pull up the video on YouTube so I can see the comments here because it's not showing for me. But yes, hopefully you're all having a fantastic, wonderful week so far, and you have great things that are going to go on this weekend. I actually took the day off, which is very uncharacteristic of me. I haven't used much of my vacation time since I started my job about I'll come up on a year and a half ago, but I decided I wanted to take today off. I was tired. I had a lot of stuff to do around the house. But, the funny thing about taking today off is I actually ended up doing so much stuff. It wasn't really all that relaxing, but I got a lot of important things done. So it was good that I did take the day off. So 1 second here. Trying to get this pulled up has been difficult. All right, there we go. So, like I said, lots of interesting stuff. And I have been so busy the last couple of weeks with review stuff because I got the LG Velvet a couple of weeks ago. I got the Pixel 4a, and now I just got the Note 20 Ultra. And it's been, I also got the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5G. So if you've noticed on my YouTube channel, it's been video after video after video after video, and I have a lot more stuff that I need to review, which I'll eventually get around to. But the most exciting thing is, of course, the announcement of the new Blackberry. So those of you who know me, can appreciate that I'm super excited about that. And hopefully some of y'all are excited about it as well, coming in 2021. First half, but I did watch a podcast on Crackberry that they recorded yesterday with the CEO of Onward Mobility, which is the stateside company here that's going to be doing the logistics and also some of the design stuff, working with FIH. So there was some cool stuff out of that. And it looks like it might be earlier in 2021 than later, but anyway, I want to talk about Blackberry all night. I think Dan is going to join me on here in a minute. I know he's working on finishing up editing a video right now, so I don't want to talk too much before he gets here. I want to talk about some 90s stuff tonight. So if you are a 90s fan, then you can probably appreciate some of the stuff tonight. Talk about some 90s TV shows. I put up a thing on Twitter yesterday, and I was like, what is the best 1990s sitcom? And some of the ones that I picked that I put up there were Seinfeld and Friends and Frasier, which is my personal favorite. But there's so many more. And it's funny because I had a couple other people chime in and they're like, what about this one? What about this one? I'm like, well, I would have included a lot more if Twitter would give me more than 4 options to put on a poll. But there are some really good shows in the 90s, and I just haven't felt like that's been recaptured today. I mean, it's funny because they're pushing out more and more shows than ever, because it used to be just like network syndicated TV. You would have these shows that a pilot, you might have one season, but if it went beyond one season, it might last for a while. Like Frasier, it went for like 11 seasons, and I've seen Frasier probably like 15 times through. It's just my favorite go-to show. Seinfeld, I watched a couple of times. I used to watch that one live, but I don't know if it's just a lack of originality now in the world, especially when it comes to comedy stuff or just like situational comedy. it just doesn't feel the same. I mean, they even tried to bring back Will and Grace, which I actually used to watch back during the 90s, late 90s. It was a good show, but it just didn't really feel like it had that same effect when they brought it back. So I don't know. And, there's been talks about bringing Frasier back, which I would be really excited about. But I think, the cast in that one and the story writers have also decided that it has to be done right. It has to make sense. Like when they went from Cheers, which Frasier was a character on, and then they moved to the Frasier show itself, it kind of made sense. But it's not like come back and we'll pick up and do the same show again, because it was a kind of right time, right place, right dynamic with the characters and the story that went on. So I don't really see that. I don't see it happening exactly the same way again. But of course, yes, a lot of people are always, the two that people really go back and forth with are Frasier and not Frasier, but Friends and Seinfeld. It's like you usually either love Seinfeld or you like Friends. And I watched both of them, and it was funny. Every week everybody would talk about it. It's like, oh, did you see the new episode? Did you see the new episode? You talk about this, and I don't really feel like it has the same effect nowadays as it used to, because it used to be like a big thing. It's like, hey, we had the show, and then everybody would talk about it on Friday or Saturday or Sunday or whatever when we would get together. And what was the latest thing with Ross and Rachel? What was the latest thing with Chandler and Monica? Or whenever it came to Seinfeld, Seinfeld was just all over the place. I mean, it's like you have the same characters. And you have George, you have Elaine, you have Jerry, you have Kramer, and the Newman, and all the other guys that are kind of intertwined in their little shenanigans that they would pull off every week. But it was always something. And, it's so funny how much it just revolved around Jerry's apartment and then, the local areas around there. But, you can look back and it's like, man, these guys were some terrible people. But it was a lot of fun stuff, and it was funny. So it was interesting to watch and see what happened each week, because each show, and it's funny because the show's kind of about nothing. And there was actually an episode where Jerry was pitching a pilot show to NBC, and George's whole idea was, let's make a show about nothing. And the funny thing is that's what the entire show is about. And then they go in to these NBC guys and they're trying to pitch this idea of a show about nothing. And it's like, I don't get it. This is a terrible idea. And Jerry's telling George, hey, this is a terrible idea. How do you have a show about nothing? It's like, exactly. It's about nothing right here. This is what the show could be about. So it's just, I don't know if it has the same effect for people nowadays as it did as like when I was watching it way back in the day. But I don't know. It's a great show. And if y'all have favorites, something y'all want to talk about, feel free to drop it over in the comment section, and we'll totally talk about that stuff, because it's not just designed for me to sit here and talk all night long. I mean, if you like listening to me talk, I can certainly do that for an hour. No problem. But yeah, if there's a show that you liked, if there was something cool that happened, way back during the 90s, if you're alive during the 90s, if you weren't alive during the 90s, ask questions. And us that were alive back then, because I was born in '84. I spent most of my formative years in the 90s cartoons, 90s TV shows, 90s action figures, 90s collector's cards. I've got basketball cards from back in like 1988, 89, 90. I've got Jordans. I got Larry Birds. I got Hakeem Olajuwon. The first basketball card. I'll talk about collections for a minute. The first basketball card that I ever bought was, if you're familiar with the NBA, especially during the 80s and 90s, one of the most prolific centers of all time, Hakeem Olajuwon. Played for the Houston Rockets, which of course is near and dear to me because I'm from Houston. They won back-to-back championships, 94 and 95. Which were bookended by the Michael Jordan dynasty. So they won 91, 92, 93. Jordan retired. He came back later. The Rockets won 94, 95. The Bulls won 96, 97, and 98. So it was really crazy growing up. And I totally hated every time we played the Bulls because Michael Jordan would always find a way to beat us. It was great. I got to see him play before. And it was really cool when I was growing up. I was a big fan of the Atlanta Hawks, but Hakeem Olajuwon, his actual real name when he came over to the United States, his name was Akeem. And the first couple of years he played in the NBA, it was under Akeem, no H. And then he changed it to Hakeem, added the H on there. I actually have some basketball cards of his from like 84, 86 before he changed his name. So just a little tidbit there. But yeah, during the 90s, I collect basketball cards all the time. And I would mow my yard. I would, hey, 2&A, welcome to the show. I would mow neighbors' yards. I would mow anybody's yard who would let me. And me and my buddy across the street would try and put our money together because it was like $3 or $4 for a deck of cards. And there was a grocery store right outside my subdivision. And we would ride our bike over there. Both of us, we'd ride our bikes over there. And we'd go use our $3 or $4, go in there, and we would come up with a system because the cards had like 12 cards in a pack or 10 cards in a pack, whatever it was, and a stick of gum, which was cool. So we would go buy the upper deck ones because, for whatever reason, Topps and Fleer just weren't as cool as the upper deck ones. So we buy the upper deck basketball cards. We would split it. And it's like one time we go in there and say, all right, we'll do every other card. And this time I take the first card, and then you take the second card. And the next time you'll take the first card, and I'll take the second card. Or I'll take the first 4, you take the second 4, and then we'll split the last 2. Whatever arrangement that we came up with before we would go buy these cards. But I still have so many of these cards today, and not really worth anything. And it's something that eventually one day I'll pass them on to my kids or something or whatever. It's nothing I ever really intend on selling, but that was a thing. I don't know if it's so much of a thing now. Like my kids, I got a treasure trove of children, and they don't necessarily collect cards. They would like cards, like the Pokemon cards, and then they'd also get like the Yu-Gi-Oh cards and some other stuff. But they would just tear them up. They would never take care of them. Like I went out, I bought them binders, I bought them sleeves, I bought them little card things to put them in. Cards all over the floor. They just didn't care. They didn't take care of them. So I just don't know if it's as big of a thing now. Maybe sports cards are. I don't know. Maybe y'all collect cards. Maybe y'all can tell me. But I totally enjoyed collecting cards back in the day. I had some because I was growing up, like the Disney cards too. In the 90s, they had cards where they would have the different scenes. And it would be like an 80 or a 90 card series, but for like the different movies. And 2&A, I used to collect basketball cards and comic books. My parents would never buy me comic books. I didn't ever really get into comic books till I was like kind of in my mid-teens. And you could go to the Dollar Tree. The Dollar Tree, if they're all over the place. Maybe you have got one around there. But you could go to the Dollar Tree and spend $1 and get a pack that had 3 comics in it. So sometimes it would be an X-Men comic. Sometimes it would be a G.I. Joe comic. Sometimes it would be a Thor comic. You just didn't know what you were going to get. But they would have these comics in there, and of course they were never in sequence. I don't know where they got them or how they ended up in these packs, but 3 comic books for $1 was a pretty darn good deal. So it was kind of later in life for me, in like my mid-teens. Comic book stores just weren't a thing around here, and I didn't have really money to buy them, so it wasn't anything I got real big into, but it was still cool at the same time. Like I love Silver Surfer. He's my favorite Marvel character. I was always kind of more into DC. I used to collect some of the Superman comics. I had some of the Batman comics. I had some of the Steel comics. What else? I think that's about it. I didn't have a whole lot. But yeah, they had some of those there too. So it was cool, and I enjoyed that. But I think probably one of the biggest things that I really got into, of course, was video games in the mid-90s. Oh, yeah, Death of Superman series. That was a big deal. I had a friend who was all about Superman, and he collected the Superman comics. And when they came out with the Death of Superman series, like, he was into it. He got all the issues, and I got to see him because I'd go over and hang out, and he'd show me his comic books, but I just didn't have it personally. So my parents thought they were a waste of money. So, yeah, that was a really cool series. I didn't have like any Aquaman. I didn't get any Wonder Woman comics. It seemed like there was a lot less selection. It's like on the Marvel side, it's like I did have some X Factor comics. They're like kind of like the X-Men, and eventually they kind of merged. So it was like X-Men, X Factor. There's all sorts of different stuff. And on Marvel, it's like everything was so big. Of course, you have Captain America, you have Iron Man, you have Silver Surfer, you have the Fantastic Four, you have the Avengers. There's so many different ones. I mean, there are more on DC, but more than the token couple of 5 or 6. But I don't know. That's cool. You still have all the issues. I'm sure one day, if not already, that will probably be worth some money. And the biggest thing, of course, is keeping them in good condition too, because it's hard. I mean, if you're a kid or you get this stuff when you're a teenager and you manage to keep this stuff for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and you manage to keep it in pristine condition, that's just amazing, because that shows the level of commitment and the level of dedication you have to, one, collecting that stuff, but also preserving it. And that was the hardest thing. I've got some cards that I put in cases 30 years ago, and I've still never taken those suckers out. I've taken the card out, like the little plastic little case, the gym case, so I could show my kids. I'm like, look at this, look at this. And of course, they're like, oh, I want them. I'm like, no, you're not having my 30-year-old cards. I saw what you did to your Pokemon cards. You're not getting these. So, yeah, collections are cool. Actually, I have a spoon collection too. As I've traveled all over the world, because I spent 16 and a half years in the military. I've been all over. I've been on most of the continents, and I've been to a lot of different countries. So I have a spoon collection that's really nice, a nice box case with a glass cover. And I have U.S. spoons, and I also have foreign ones. So whenever I go to a different state or I go to a different country, I'll pick one up and I'll bring it back and I'll put it here and I'll put it in my case. And that's something I grew up with, because my great grandmother did the same thing. She had a spoon from every state in the United States, include Alaska and Hawaii, and then she had all of Europe. She went over. She lived to be about 95, 96 years old, but she used to travel a lot between, like, when she was in like her 60s and her 70s. Her and her sister would go every year, and they would go to Europe, and they would go to France, and they would go to Germany, and they would go to England, and they would go visit all these places. And then, of course, she had all of these spoons. And when I would go over there, I always look at them and go, oh, there's that one, and just kind of take account of them. So whenever I grew up, it's something that I started as well. And I do have my great-grandmother's spoon collection, but it's at my grandma's house right now because she keeps it there. But she left that to me. So I thought that was pretty cool, because I have my own collection here that one day I'll pass on to my kids. But another thing that really just didn't age well when it comes to collections is VHS. And VHS tapes are big. They're not small. It's not like you go to like a Blu-ray or a DVD, which is like a third of the case size, and it's much easier to store. Hey Dom, how are you today? Your grandparents are the same way. Yeah. It's funny, you find out the things that your family and your loved ones collect, because some people have some really, really intricate collections of things they're really cool. Some people collect Christmas ornaments. Some people collect spoons. Some people, my great grandmother also used to collect thimbles. She used to get thimbles from different places. She used to do a lot of knitting and a lot of sewing. So she collected that stuff too. So, but we had a lot of VHS tapes growing up, because I have 8 siblings. So there was 9 of us. So my parents refused to buy cable, which might be why there was 9 of us. I mean, do some simple math, I guess. We didn't have cable when I was growing up. So we had movies. So we'd watch all the movies over and over and over. But, every time one of the Disney movies would get released out of the vault, my mom would go buy it. We had the Raiders of the Lost. We had all the Indiana Jones. We had all the Star Wars. We had Top Gun. Campbell's Soup stuff. One thing I want to talk about, this is funny. My grandfather, hey, Carl, thanks. Yes, I collect kids. I have a lot of those. Thanks for the super chat, Carl. So some people, let me go back to what I was saying. My grandfather, he used to smoke heavily, and for whatever. I mean, it's fine. I mean, that's what he did. He smoked. He worked on the railroad. He was in the Army. He did 2 years in Korea. He smoked, and he retired from the railroad at like 60. And all he did, every time I saw him, he had a can of Coors Light and a cigarette in his hands. And that's how I knew him. It was funny because his blood pressure was so high, he could never drive anywhere because he would get dizzy. And all he would do is drive across the street from his trailer park to the gas station to buy more cigarettes and beer. And then he would every once in a while venture down to Wendy's and get himself some chili. He really liked Wendy's chili. But my mom got so mad at him because he used to collect the points from his cigarettes, because the Marlboro cigarettes would come with those little coupon things inside them. Like if you would buy a carton or you buy just a pack, and it would come with a certain amount of points. So he saved all these points, and he would always give us stuff. I'll go back to this in a minute, but he would always give us stuff. So when his nephew would give him a ride to come and visit us, he would bring us things. And one time he had saved up all these Marlboro points and got all of this stuff. He got a Marlboro cup, like a mug. He got this Marlboro gym bag. He got like this Marlboro koozie. He got this Marlboro like seat cushion. So he shows up at my house and brings in this box of these things that he had gotten for us. And he comes in and he's like handing out all this stuff. And my mom is about to flip her wig because she didn't want it to be perceived, one, that we were smokers. And then two, she was appalled that her dad brought all of this Marlboro merchandise to hand out to his grandkids. So the only thing she let us keep out of all of that was the Marlboro gym bag. And she made us put duct tape all over it. So everywhere it showed the Marlboro name or the symbol, it had duct tape all over it. That's the only thing that she let us keep. But it was funny. We had that gym bag for like a really long time. And every time our friends would see us, we'd see new friends, we'd make new friends with people. They're like, why is there tape all over that bag? Take the tape off. We're like, no, you can't take the tape off. This is a Marlboro bag. This is what my grandfather got this with his cigarette points. So that's the only reason our mom would let us keep it. Yeah, but my mom, my parents were interesting. So we were homeschooled. I never went to public school. She tolerated us playing video games, but she didn't let us play a lot of video games. And we had a Nintendo with probably like 7 or 8 games, as most kids did, back in the early 90s. And I remember the Sega Genesis came out. My grandfather, he stopped buying us things with Marlboro points, and he bought us the original Sega Genesis with, is it Beastmaster? Is that the game? I'm drawing a blank. What is it? Altered Beast. There we go. He got us the original Sega Genesis with Altered Beast. Brought it over and gives it to us. And my mom tells him to take it back home because we have too many video games already. And he had spent like $300-something on this Sega Genesis. And I was so pissed because the Sega Genesis was out of the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, and the Sega. I totally love the Sega. So I was so mad because he brought it over and he puts the Sega Genesis in our hands. And then my mom's like, no, they have too many video games already. Go ahead and just take that back. So, of course, he didn't take it back, and he gave it to my aunt, who didn't play video games. So, like the 2 times a year we would get to go visit my aunt, we would get to play the Sega Genesis that should have been ours. Nintendo 8-bit, it's funny, talking about this with Nintendo 8-bit and then 16-bit. That's what we used to refer to, video games as far as graphics capabilities. So, there's the 8-bit, and then there's a 16-bit console wars and the 32-bit. So, like, you had the Nintendo, which was considered 8-bit. You had the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis were considered 16-bit. And then you went to the PlayStation and the Saturn. They were considered 32-bit. And then the Nintendo 64, they called it Nintendo 64 because it was 64-bit. And then I guess they kind of called the Dreamcast like a 128-bit system. But they kind of stopped talking about bits after then. And then they just, next generation console all the time. So back then, yeah, it was big. Especially you look at Nintendo, you look at Sega. That was a big rivalry back then because the Nintendo originally came out, and it didn't really have anyone to compete with on the same scale here in the United States. And I mean, there were so many games for the Nintendo, so many beloved franchises, all the stuff that we're playing nowadays. You got Mario, you got Donkey Kong, you got Metroid, you've got Zelda. There's just so many games that we have now too that came from that era, and then of course went to Super, and then they just threw the word Super in front of everything. Super Mario, Super Metroid. They didn't call it Super Donkey Kong, but they changed it to Donkey Kong Country. And the people that went from Donkey Kong to Donkey Kong Country are some serious visionaries, because Donkey Kong Country is one heck of a game that was imagined and created based off the Donkey Kong character. And they brought in Diddy Kong, and then they brought in all the other characters in there. And they really made a robust, environment. They made a really good series out of it. So I totally loved the Donkey Kong games. I mean, I remember on Nintendo it was Donkey Kong. Well, on Nintendo and on arcade it was Donkey Kong, and then Donkey Kong Jr., Donkey Kong 3, and then Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3. So all those good ones. Hey, Mr. AK Singh, welcome. Glad to have you here. Yeah, Blockbuster was the jam. It wasn't even just Blockbuster back in the 90s. It was also going to grocery stores too, because we had like a Safeway, Randall's, we had Gerland's, we had Berkshire Brothers, we had Albertsons. There was all these different grocery stores that you could go in and you could rent games from there, and we would do that. And it was cool because on like Thursday or Tuesday it would be like dollar rental day for 1 day, or you could get it like 2 days for $2. And my parents wouldn't really buy us a lot of games, but we would go rent one once a week. And our favorite game that my brother and I used to rent, we would go back and forth because he liked Double Dragon 2. So we would rent Double Dragon 2, or we would rent Guerrilla War. And Guerrilla War is one of my all-time favorite Nintendo and arcade games. It was some really good stuff. Blackberry is back. Hollywood Video, yes. Hollywood Video is great. I actually had one right outside my subdivision, 3 streets over from my house at the entrance. So they built that when I was about 14, 15 years old, and I would walk over there all the time to go rent movies and go rent games, especially because we had like the $10, like the $20 a month game, like rental membership. So I could go over there and I could rent up to 2 things at a time and then take them back. So I grew up watching a whole lot of movies. Here we go. What is my take on Blackberry coming back? Well, if you watched the video that I put out 2 days ago, you probably saw that I'm pretty darn excited about it. I'm really excited about Blackberry. I mean, you're here now. You know that I like Blackberry, and I've been a big Blackberry fan and using them for over 15 years now. So I'm really excited about it. I did have an inkling that this was going to happen. Of course, we were waiting for the TCL licensing agreement to end on August 31st. So I didn't expect to hear anything until after that, but I didn't want to tell people, hey, this is going to happen, because I didn't know. But just understanding some of the history with the brand, how things work, my gut instinct was that we were going to get another one, but I didn't want to go around telling people, hey, we're going to get another phone, and then it not happen, and then let people down, and then tell people and mislead them, because people that love Blackberry really love the phones. And I would hate to give somebody false hope, because if somebody told me there was going to be a new Blackberry and there really wasn't, it would be very disappointing to me to find out that that wasn't going to happen. So this partnership that Blackberry has entered into with Onward Mobility, with FIH being the ones putting it together and building it, and also some of the design aspect. If you don't know this, FIH was actually responsible for making the Classic, which is a very, very good phone, very beloved, awesome phone, one of my favorite Blackberries ever. So I think that they're going to make another one. I think they're going to make a really good one. I don't know what we're going to get. I actually have a video out coming tomorrow, because talking about 5 things we know about the upcoming Blackberry that's coming out. But just to give you a sneak peek, of course, we do know it's going to be running Android. It's going to have a keyboard. It is going to have 5G. It's going to be built by FIH in conjunction with Onward Mobility, and it's going to come out in the first half of 2021. Really excited about it. I'm looking forward to whatever comes out of it. And whatever comes out of it, I'm going to buy, I'm going to use. Hopefully they'll send me a review unit. That would be great. But I think it'll be a good fit. I think 2020, 2021 is the year for these new, form factors and kind of making something different, because as much as we love these slab phones, I think people are kind of getting a little tired of them. So that's my take on it. Really excited about it. When will we see Palm again? Well, Palm Palm has been remade. If you look at the brand Palm, they have one. It's an Android device. I actually reviewed it. Running Android 8.1. It fits in the inside of your palm. It's a little bit different. They kind of reimagined that differently than the original Palm Pilots, because this is palm size and it's a fully functional Android smartphone. So it's one of those things where it's a minimalistic device that's designed to give you all the connectivity you need, but not keep you like immersed in your phone. Like, it's not something where you're going to sit there like this all day long, just playing on your phone for 8 hours a day. It's designed to kind of untether you and give you that connectivity when you need it. If you need to send a quick message, if you need to take a phone call, if you need GPS and stuff like that. But it's not really the productivity device that the original Palm was. So maybe they'll make a bigger one. Maybe they'll make something different if they come out with a second device. But the one they have now is out there. And yeah, totally interested in seeing what they're going to do. I listened to the Crackberry podcast yesterday with the CEO, and it had some interesting stuff in there, a little bit more insight. I did kind of recap some of that. I have a video coming out in the morning to talk about that. So, yeah, just stay tuned for that. But I don't really know the way they're going to go with it. They said that they brought in a team of experts. They brought in some people who really know BlackBerry stuff. Some of them are former BlackBerry users, and they understand that people love the keyboard, the productivity, and the security. So I think they're going to make something good. I don't think it's going to be small. I think it's going to be a larger form factor, and we'll see what happens with that. But I think they're going to be happy. They said that what they're trying to do is make something and cater towards the enterprise and business market professionals, but also something that consumers can get on board with. So they said they want to put in a good camera, because they said it doesn't matter how good the phone is. If you put a crappy camera in there, that's going to be the thing people complain about. They won't want to use it. They're also looking at putting in a big battery. They're giving 5G, which means it's going to be at least a 7 series Snapdragon processor. I think that they're going to do it right. They said that they want to build the best BlackBerry they can, but also keep in mind price. So it may actually be a little bit more expensive and a little bit more of a complete device than maybe some people were expecting. But I'm really hoping it turns into a really awesome, really well built out device. They said they want it to be a one-stop shop. They want it to be a phone that it's the only phone you carry. In the past, as life transitioned, a lot of people that were BlackBerry users would carry 2 phones. And it was like, all right, I use my BlackBerry during the day, but as soon as the work hours are over, punch the clock and put it down and then grab my iPhone. They envision this phone as being an end all be all. This is the only phone that you need to carry. It will do everything you need it to do. So I'm interested to hear them say that, because before it was always BlackBerry is built around productivity. BlackBerry is built around this. BlackBerry is built around that. But to be able to say we're building it around security, but we also understand that people want these features in the phone. We're not insensitive to that. We want to make the best BlackBerry we can, because we want this to be people's go-to phone. So if they can pull that off, I mean, great. I'm really, really looking forward to that. And yeah, I'm envisioning that they'll have a very, very good keyboard experience. And it's really reassuring to me that it's being made by FIH, because they have a history. They're part of Foxconn, so they have a history of making really good phones. Their quality control is excellent. They've been making phones for years. I have no doubt that it's going to be much better made than the TCL ones, which, albeit nice and typically worked well, suffered from some quality control issues. And I'm hoping that won't be an issue this go around, because if they come out with a new phone and a week or two after this phone comes out, the screen's popping off, the button's popping off, the fingerprint sensor's not working, people are going to return these in droves, and then it's going to be a failure. And it has to be reliable. It has to be well made. I don't really see this as being a problem. This is not something that's going to be an overnight Cinderella story where they try to regain their prominence in the cell phone world. It's not like, hey, we're here to take on Android, we're here to take on Apple. It's just not going to be the case. They're trying to leverage their self into a position to be a go-to for productivity and for enterprise again, but also security. And security has been something that is high on people's minds, but at the same time, it's not something that a lot of people, whenever people were starting to switch to Android and Apple before they were nearly as secure as BlackBerry, people were saying, it's not secure, it's not secure, these phones aren't secure, I don't want to use them. And people are like, well, who cares if it's secure? I can get iMessage, I can get Snapchat, I can get all these things I can't get on my BlackBerry. So I don't care. I'm willing to sacrifice some of that stuff so I can get access to the social media and the apps and all that other stuff. And then a couple of years later, they finally made it more secure. But now seems like a lot of things are just as susceptible as ever for people having their privacy violated, people hacking their phones, people doing their phishing scams, all sorts of stuff. So if they can find a way to build this from the ground up and make it as secure as BlackBerry 10, really was industry leading security, I think that's going to appeal to a lot of people, especially companies. They're tired of their stuff leaking out. They're tired of stuff getting hacked. They're tired of their data and their information being compromised. So I don't envision this as something where they're ever going to loosen the foothold on the industry that Samsung and iPhone have. But I think it'll do well enough, at least, in theory, that it will allow them to stay in the market, which is the best thing that we can hope for right now. And it's not a one size fits all approach. It's not like it's just Ford and Chevy that make cars. And you've got Toyota, you've got Lexus, you got Honda, you got Acura, you got Lincoln, you got Mercury, you got Scion, you got Kia. All these different cars, and they all bring something else. So if you look at the market in a way that it's open to different types of devices that serve certain needs and certain skill sets and provide certain form factors, then yeah, there's plenty of room for BlackBerry. But as a one-stop shop, is it going to be the Chevy or is it going to be the Ford of the auto industry in the phone world? No, it's not going to, and it doesn't have to be. And I think that's where they lost the big picture before. They're like, we're losing market share. We have to be number one. We have to compete with these guys. And you see how that went. So I think that people who are looking on the outside in, taking a look at this, trying to find a way to plug it into where it fits, then I think that it can work. And, Sierra is saying, but consumer markets are demanding Android or nothing. Yeah, one thing that's interesting that a lot of people don't know is that BlackBerry, their QNX software is actually providing the security and systems in like tons and like millions of cars out on the market. So we'll see. I think it's going to be one of those things that's going to work out. I think it's going to work out better than the TCL approach. See, the TCL approach. Oh, thank you very much, Grant. I appreciate it. Oh, Dan's here. Nice of you to show up.
Well, I did have to set absolutely everything back up again in the last 25 minutes. So
I'm very proud of you. Let me answer.
My headphones aren't working properly. Give me a minute.
BlackBerry has money to survive. They still have over $1 billion in cash. Like they don't have debt. I mean, they have debt, but I mean, it's like they have $1 billion sitting in the bank, if not more. They just converted over a bunch of stuff to get another like $500 million. So they're okay. And I think they're going to continue to be okay. And if they can find a way to leverage the arm of this market, and they have the risk taken off them, they have the financial risk taken off of them, they don't have to worry about inventory control and all that stuff, then yeah, I think it's going to work out, and I think it'll be okay. Yeah, it's funny. I was talking about all this different 90s stuff, and I had like 2 questions about BlackBerry, and now for like the last 15 minutes been talking about BlackBerry, but yeah, I'm tired of talking.
I have no sound at the minute, in case you're wondering. So I'm trying to figure out new headphones because my Liberty 2 Pros have just sort of gone. So it's all sign language from here out.
So you can't hear anything? Hello? You suck and everybody hates you.
I have no idea what you're saying.
Nobody likes you. I hope they revoke
my battery's high. Wish I was.
So, recently switched back to BlackBerry. That's cool. So, yeah, the one thing I wanted to say real quick when it comes to TCL BlackBerry is TCL really tried to appeal to the consumer market. It's like they weren't looking at business, they weren't looking at productivity, they weren't looking at security. I mean, security, of course, was in the Android software a little bit because of BlackBerry, because they had that in their control. But TCL and the BlackBerry mobile license was very much geared towards consumers. And the problem is the mass consumer market does not want BlackBerries. So they could have made, I mean, yeah, they very well are, in most cases, decent devices, but it wasn't anything that people wanted. Like old school BlackBerry people who love them, they went out and bought them, but that wasn't enough to keep the brand afloat under that license. And I really think that this is a much better approach. The legacy, the history, the tradition in the BlackBerry DNA is security, not the Detect security software suite that tells you about permissions for apps on your phones and gives you a little meter. It's not the same thing. So if they can build this from the ground up around security, give you the stuff that you want, and make a solid phone that it's not like, oh, I like my BlackBerry, but I have to carry the Pixel because the BlackBerry takes bad pictures. Or, yeah, those kind of compromises, if we don't have to make those, then I'll be really happy. Can you hear yet? No, you still can't hear. Yeah, he's to turn his hearing aids up. I'll wait for him to fix his ears. This is almost comical to watch. He's sitting there trying to get his earphones to work. He can't hear a word I'm saying. Hello? Anyway, I missed this a second ago, but Grant, thank you very much for the super chat. I very much appreciate that. And yes, let the hype begin. And it's funny because there's actually a lot of people that are really excited about it. I've had a lot of people. There are so many comments. Like the video I put out the other day did amazing, like 20,000 views in just over 2 days, which is crazy for a video that I put out. So there's a lot of people. It's got like 500 comments or close to that now, I think, very close to 1,000 likes. So there's legitimately a lot of people that are still interested in BlackBerry phones. And even if they're not, they're I don't think people wish them ill. I think that, like, hey, thumbs up, give it a try. I hope it works out, because we're getting to a point in the phone industry where a lot of different devices and different manufacturers have kind of faded away, but BlackBerry has still been able to hold on. Like you saw Nokia died, it kind of got brought back. Sony's not really prevalent here in the US. HTC pretty much died. Now they come back with some stuff. So to see that this is kind of like the third revival story of BlackBerry, I think is a great testament to what people still think about them and the value that people still place on their devices on security. Nothing? Yes. And this is another thing too. Yeah, there's people, and if people want them or people are interested in them, that's one thing, but I don't blame anybody who's not, because a lot of people don't have the same history with these devices, especially nowadays. I got my first BlackBerry in 2005. So I built a lot of relationships. I've got with these phones, for the longest time. I've relied on them. I've used them. I've looked forward to them. So it's sorry, Dan was sending me a message. I was trying to read it. It's a thing where it's like, it's something I really appreciate, and I look forward to it because it's like I love having a physical keyboard. I type so fast on it. I'm very productive. I enjoy the experience. So having that again is great for me. But somebody who's never used one of these devices, never had a keyboard phone before, it's one of those things where it's like they'd be like, why do I want to give up half my screen for a physical keyboard? So I don't discredit or think poorly of somebody who's not interested in one. It's just like iPhone. iPhone doesn't really do anything for me. I'm using an 8 Plus right now just because I like Touch ID, and I don't really care so much about having an $1,100 iPhone. I mean, the $300 iPhone 8 Plus I got brand new a few months works out perfectly fine for me. So it's one of those things where if you don't like BlackBerry, that's cool. If you do, hey, we're going to get a new phone next year. But yeah, you should start rooting for the Raiders. Well, they did move to Los Angeles, and football's right around the corner too. I think we're like 19 days until we get to the football season, and we'll see what happens. I'm glad that they've been able to work things out with the NBA. I'm a big basketball fan. Love the NBA. Go Rockets. We already beat the Thunder 2 games in this series. I think we're going to sweep them, which would be great. But yeah, looking at football, I mean, Tom Brady on the Buccaneers. I mean, did anyone see that coming? I did not see that coming. I thought he was going to retire or just be a Patriot for life. I thought they'd come up with a way to keep him there. It was really surprising to me that they actually let him go, and much less did Tampa.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear your own voice coming through the speakers?
Nope.
Good. Bluetooth is broke on this computer. I have to be within about 6-7 inches of it, otherwise it loses signal. I'm having a really good look right now. Really, really good look.
Hey, just order a $20 Bluetooth dongle. Don't take.
That's what I'm going to do. I ain't messing around anymore.
$20 Bluetooth dongle, you're good. A lot of desktops don't have good built-in Bluetooth anyway.
The last one was fine, but this one, God. I've tried 3 different pairs of earbuds. Fail.
I don't know if I've ever asked you this before. Are you an NFL fan? Do you like football?
I used to be when I was a kid. It was big in the 80s in England. Patriots versus, I want to say Chicago Bears versus Patriots was the Super Bowl when it was big in England. And that was about 84, 85. So
they had another Super Bowl. They had another Super Bowl, I want to say in 2007?
Who did?
Yeah, it was the Colts and the Bears. I'm sorry. I knew the Bears were in the Super Bowl in 2007, but the Patriots, they won so many times. It's just crazy to me that Tom Brady has gone on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and
that's just money. It's got to be. He doesn't care. He needs the money, but he ain't going to win anything at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And at the end of the day, the owners of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers own Manchester United. So you know where all the money's going.
Oh, yeah. Well, the other thing, too, he went down there. I don't even think it's for the money. Tom Brady's going to get whatever money. He's going to re-energize that fan base, which is going to give them a much-needed push because they've been going down in interest for so many years. So I think it's a smart move by Tampa Bay because as long as he comes in and they do okay, they could even limp into the playoffs if they're lucky enough. They got Gronkowski, too.
That's a weird one.
Hey, the problem was Gronkowski, other than healing up, there are a lot of people that don't want to play in New England for Belichick. They do not like his style. His style produces wins. His style produces championships, but it's not fun. There have been people that have left the Patriots because they don't want to work for him.
Yeah.
But, Tom Brady is crazy loaded. I think him and his wife are worth like $500 million. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they don't need the money whatsoever.
But he said he wanted to play till he's like 43 or 44. He just wants to keep playing. And I don't discredit that because, look, if he's healthy and he can still throw the ball and he wants to stay out on the field, as long as somebody's willing to pay him, I like to watch the guy play. It's like watching Jordan. Who do we have that plays football right now other than Brady that you're like, over the next 10 years, you're like, man, I can't wait to keep watching him play. Yeah, Brady, after Manning left, Brady is one of the last real true people that are Michael Jordan-like presence in the NFL. The dude has, 5 rings?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so it's just – it could be another 20 years or another 15 years before we find a player like that because, it's like it takes a long time, especially in football, to be able to come back, to win so consistently, to get so many appearances in the playoffs, to get so many championship rings. It's just, mind-boggling. Most franchises are lucky to get one in a 20-year period, much less 5 or 6.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I don't know much about the NFL.
That's right.
Years ago, when when Walter Payton and the Fridge and all that were playing. Yeah, but nowadays, nah.
I forget you're pushing 60.
That's it. I'm quite a bit older than you. You should respect your elders. How does this camera look, by the way?
It looks good. What are you using?
Right, so Sony released, and it'll work on yours as well, released the Sony imaging webcam software, and now all I do is plug my USB cable into the computer, and it works.
Oh, I just got a text message from my buddy. I know he sent me, he said, I was talking about Peyton Manning. I know that I'm not Peyton Manning. I was talking about Tom Brady. I know that Michael Jordan has 6 rings. I was trying to remember how many Tom Brady had. How many rings does Tom Brady have?
6. He does have 6, doesn't he?
It's 5 or 6. Yeah,
6.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's 6.
So 6 rings. So yeah, he's the football equivalent of Michael Jordan. sure, there's always people that come along that are also great, but do they achieve that same level of greatness? Because before Michael Jordan really came to his prominence, you had Larry Bird, you had Magic Johnson. I mean, you had some other prolific players during the '80s, but then you also have some really good players who just weren't as fortunate enough to have such a great team and a coach around them, like Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley was a great basketball player. This one of the seasons that Michael Jordan they won, I think it was '92 or '93. It might have been '93. I think Charles Barkley got MVP that year, and not Michael Jordan. So there are arguably, I mean, some really good players who just never quite got their due. I don't think Charles Barkley ever got a ring. He came to Houston in '96. We had a big trade at the end of the '95 season. We traded away 4 players in Houston to get Charles Barkley in Houston, and we made it to the playoffs, but we didn't win. So yeah, he never got a ring.
About basketball neither. Sorry.
That's right. All right.
I don't know about baseball neither. Sorry.
Yeah, Karl Malone was another great one. I hated Karl Malone, but he was a great basketball player. Now, what I originally kind of set out to talk about tonight is
no, it's not a ZV1. Let me just get that in quick because I've been waiting, but he just won't shut up about stupid basketball. No, it's not a ZV1. It's an A6100. I sold my ZV1.
So, did you watch American sitcom television during the '90s?
Yeah.
All right. So, did you watch Friends? You watch Frasier? You watch Seinfeld?
I don't like Kelsey Grammer. I could uppercut that guy.
Because what?
I don't like Kelsey Grammer. I could.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. He's just got one of them faces that what a punch.
So, like me.
Pretty much.
Maybe I'll get on.
But Cheers
Oh,
was
man,
great.
I love Cheers.
Yeah.
I like the first half of it though. Like whenever they still had Diane before they moved on to Rebecca.
Yep.
And I like once they changed it to Rebecca, it kind of changed the dynamic. And it was funny because Shelley Long played Diane, and I like Diane's character. But the reason she left the show is she went on to go make a movie and do bigger and better things out west. In real life, I mean, she went to go make movies. I mean, she thought she was going to be a rising star, and then it just didn't quite turn out the same. And Cheers continued to skyrocket in popularity.
Yep.
And
yeah, good. I like Cheers. And that was the beginnings of Woody Harrelson, if I remember as well. That was his first major gig.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson got his start there. His character was Woody.
Yeah.
And it was funny because he played this not too intelligent, dorky little guy from I think it was from Oklahoma or somewhere. I can't remember where his character was from. Yeah, I liked Woody, and it's funny because some of the characters also made appearances on Frasier. So like Ted Danson, he made a show. He made a showing on there like twice as Sam Malone. Woody came over for an episode or two, so it was cool, but it was funny though. What are you looking at? Oh, that's nice. They sent you your Samsung credit. So I didn't know that.
An email. There you go.
So yeah, I totally love Frasier, and I like Seinfeld too. Friends was never really my thing. I watched it, and like my brother loved it, but I lived and died by Frasier. I watch that show every day.
2&A Tech, the American version of The Office. Dude, that was dumpster fire. All right, that was pure dumpster fire. How that even got any? So it's just
People love it
compared to the English version, the real version. It's crap.
I think if you start with one and try to watch the other one, it's just not. It's just not the same. Because
is Brits and Americans have two totally different humors.
Totally.
Americans. Yeah, America is more, and it's not an insult. This America is more slapstick comedy, which I don't like, and England's more dark sarcasm
and dry.
Yeah, it's extremely dry. And can, like me over here, I get taken the wrong way a lot of the time, and I'm joking. I'm like, it's okay. Don't worry, it's okay. But
okay. Well, I watched the first 3 seasons of The Office. I was deployed. I was in Iraq. I had the first 3 seasons. I watched it. I never fell in love with it. It wasn't one of those ones where I had to watch it all the time. When I came back home, I just didn't watch it anymore. But I tried watching like the first season of The British Office, and having watched the other three already, it does not have the same feel to it. And on top of that, characters, that's one of the things that gets people into shows is you can relate to characters. You build like these, weekly relationship with them where you expect to see them. You look forward to them. You start, enjoying their character and the people that play them. So
you kind of build a relationship with them. That's the problem when you watch something first before you watch the original. If you watch 2&A Tech, America is sarcastic. It's nowhere near. It's absolutely nowhere near. The humor difference between the UK and the US is absolutely massive. Like, I am offensive anyway because I'm an asshole, but this is it. This is what England is. It's just the way it is. It's like when it comes to TV in England, you go on Netflix and watch a British cop show, let's say, that's like Luther. Go and find Luther or anything like that and watch how dark and how much more mature it is than Chicago PD and things like that. England have a really, really dark sense of humor, big time.
Yeah, and I can appreciate some of that stuff. But, yeah, the TV shows that we have here in the U.S., completely different. And there is sarcasm, but sarcasm and dry humor are not exactly the same thing.
Sarcasm, yeah, absolutely. It's a slapstick sarcasm. It's not quite. Whereas in England, nothing's kind of too soon. Something could have happened yesterday, and then there's a guy on stage making fun of it the day after, and everyone's like, "Ooh,
over here." But I watched this Saturday Night Live skit yesterday, and it was one where what was his name? Matthew Perry, the guy who played Chandler Bing on Friends, was on there. It was like Sarcasm 101, and you're sitting there going on and on and on. It's like, could you be any more dumb? It's like, that's American sarcasm humor. And it's like, it's kind of like literal to the point kind of stuff whenever you get with British humor. And it's like, you don't know whether to take it seriously or to take it funny. And if you're not exposed and around people who have that sense of humor, like one of my best friends that I've known for years, also a British guy, came over to the U.S., dual citizenship, all that good stuff. Very much same literal dry sense of humor. It's one of those things. So, but if you don't know them, then it could come off as being something that doesn't seem funny.
Really offensive. It's like, ooh.
Yeah. Monty Python. I love Monty Python.
Monty Python were great. You watch Texas Spring, see? Yeah. Then that's how I'm saying. You watch Luther and you watch Chicago PD. Chicago PD is like a kid's show compared to your Luther. Watch if you've got Netflix, watch The Bodyguard, and I don't mean the one with Whitney Houston. There's an English show out called The Bodyguard. It came out a couple of years ago. It's one of the best shows that's ever been released, and it's about a special forces guy who goes working as security for the government. You got to watch it. It's insanely good, but like a whole different level to like your Chicago PDs and things like that. Chicago PD, I like Chicago PD over here, but it's something that you'd put on at 5 o'clock in England in the afternoon, not prime time 9 o'clock at night. England, as soon as you hit 9 o'clock at night, you've got like your free-to-air channels, which are like PBS. Anything goes apart from an erection. Anything.
Well,
yeah.
When it comes to Monty Python, because somebody up there said they don't like Monty Python, I don't like a lot of Monty Python. Some of it I like John Cleese, a couple of the other characters. Like when it comes to Monty Python and the Search for the Holy Grail, that's a good movie.
Brian, that was really good. I didn't like the TV show so much, but I liked the movies.
Yeah, I like the movies. I like some of the characters in movies. I like some of the style. Monty Python's Flying Circus, I never really cared for all that much.
That was a TV show, isn't it?
Yeah, and then Life of Brian, that was okay. The only movie that really kind of I liked a lot was The Holy Grail. And the thing was, it was great, but then all my friends found out about it at like the same time, and like every week, and like, let's watch Monty Python. You get together, let's watch Monty Python, The Holy Grail. I'm like, I don't want to watch it again.
Yeah, you see, when I first come over here, I got that a lot, and I'm like, really? Do you think I have not had this drilled into me all my life? It's a scratch wound. I can still fight you. No, shut up! I don't want to watch anymore.
Yeah, 'tis a flesh wound.
Yeah, exactly. You got bloody arms. What do you mean? Oh, stop.
We're the knights who say knee. We're no longer the knights who say knee.
And that was funny with the coconut shells.
Icky, the cling, zoot boing. Let's cut down the tallest tree with a herring.
Monty Python's like the Beatles. It's overrated.
I don't care for the Beatles, and I don't care who hears me say that. People are like, "Oh, the Beatles are one of the greatest bands of all time."
They're crap.
I won't say they're crap. They created like
They're a boy band.
They created a lot of what went into our modern music. A lot of stuff that changed. Yeah, I don't like them. There's only like
NSYNC.
There's only like 2 songs they actually have that I like, and I don't even know the names of them.
Yeah, I'm like, there's like
Now,
3
the Stones, yeah, I like the Stones a lot more than I like the Beatles.
Yeah, I agree. Even though he can't sing the same type, but the music's good.
Yeah, the Stones definitely have a lot better music.
Yes, I'm not a Beatles fan. Like I say, I always say to everybody, I'm the most un-English person you will ever meet because I don't drink tea. I hate the royal family. I hate Harry Potter. Hate the Beatles. You name it. I hate it.
Do you like the weather over there?
Nope, that sucks as well. I almost swore them.
You like the weather here in Ohio better than in England?
Oh, it's far warmer here. Also does in England is rain. It's like Seattle.
Well, maybe that's why they all have such dark humor because it's raining all the time.
You're almost stuck in the house all the time. That's it. You don't get you can be prescribed by your doctor in England a vacation.
What?
Yes, because a lot of people are depressed in England because they don't get enough sun because there's not enough sunlight. It's always cloudy and raining.
You can get a prescription for a vacation?
Yes, you can then walk into work and say, "Hey, I'm going on vacation. See you in 2 weeks." And then you can go and get a discount on your flight.
That's insane. I have never heard of this before.
A depression, yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
They need to look into that here. I'd be going on vacations all the time. I get back and go back in. I got another prescription.
So close to killing himself. Come on. You need a month somewhere.
And you got to pay for it.
Mm.
That's crazy.
You pay for it in England, but your employer, you still pay for it, and it's only a small discount if they do discount at all nowadays. But your employer cannot stop you from going, even if you've got no vacation time left. They have to let you go and pay you.
Well, you ever heard? I believe this is true. You could get a discount on plane tickets if you had a death in the family and you had to travel somewhere.
Yes.
And they used to do it like word of mouth. Like you could say, "Hey, I had a death in the family," but then so many people, like everything, took advantage of it, and now you actually have to have proof that the family member died. Yep. But as long as you have proof, I believe that the airlines will still honor that and give you a discount on a flight. Yep. Which it makes sense to me. I mean, that's a really nice thing for them to do because, I mean, let's face it, when people pass away, it's never something that's convenient. It's terrible that you lost a loved one. And then if you have to travel, you may not have the money to get there. So, I mean, it's a really nice thing that they do. I mean, I don't know how things work now, whatever. I don't fly very often. I haven't gone anywhere. Fortunately, all my family has lived close. So if I've had that happen with a loved one, I just drive a few hours. But we're all down here in the same couple hours of each other in Texas. But
yeah, I don't know what you mean to an A Tech. What do you mean? Are my lights gone?
You had your camera set up the other day and had different lights.
Oh, it's because I was sat facing right. So I'm sat facing the computer this time, whereas the other day I was sat facing the wall, so you could see my computer and the green lights and everything behind it. That's all that is. I get what you mean.
Man, where are you? I'm in an hour already. Of course, you didn't show up till like 44 minutes into the show.
No, well, like I say, I uploaded my video's gone live on the XM4. I'm not going to tell you anything about them because you can all go and watch the review.
I'm not watching it.
I don't care whether you watch it, but they look just like the XM3. They feel just like the XM3, and that's all I'm going to tell you.
Well, I guess I'm trying to go ahead and wrap up shop. I'm tired tonight, and thanks for showing up, though.
Yeah, I'm sorry it took a while. It's just, it was hectic all day to go and get the new computer, and then by the time I finished editing, I started to OBS and trying to get that to work, and then the headphones, and then I realized, Sony released this webcam software, so I didn't have to do any of it. I was like, God.
Today, I got up. I had to go.
My lights. I see what you said. I was giving away, and the guy didn't get back to me. I'm literally giving away the $80 softbox, the 2 softbox lights that you can buy on Amazon. Only one of them's been used. The other one's brand new. And try to give them away, and it's like, I don't know whether people expect more or it's just not good enough, but it's free. Just drive here. I've got about an hour's drive. They're free.
Yeah, it's free. Free is free.
So I'm just going to throw it away eventually.
Today I got up. I went to the grocery store. I had to go to the hardware store. I had to fix this stupid pool. It's
told you, dude. Pools are a no-no. Have you been in the pool yet?
Yeah, several times. Kids, the kids use it every day. They love it.
I hate. Oh, is it you that was picking? Right. I'm wondering who you were, 2NA Tech. You have a different name on Twitter.
I don't know.
Yeah, there was also, I've had about 3 people, 2 guys in Columbus who wanted them. Oh, man, can you meet me halfway?
Like I'm giving them for you for free.
Free! I'm like, come on.
Oh, goodness gracious.
But yeah.
Well,
they're here if you want them. If you want, if you don't come Saturday though, they're going in the dumpster. I'll take them to Goodwill actually.
Yeah, don't throw away.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we're going to wrap shop up then, and call it a day. And we'll try this again next Friday, and hopefully next Friday will be a little more riveting. I had so much stuff going on this week. Normally, I reach out to some people and kind of have stuff set up. So it's a little bit more engaging, a little more entertaining. But tonight, not as much as usual. But got some Blackberry talk, got some 90s collection talk, got some TV show talk. And
the battery in this thing sucks.
Does it?
Yes.
I haven't gotten that far yet. I thought I plugged mine in last night, and my plug wasn't plugged into the wall securely. So when I woke up, I used it for like an hour, and it was already on like 15% because it didn't charge last night. So I don't know, but I've seen people complaining about the battery on them.
I bet I've not got 4-hour screen on time today.
That's horrendous for a 4,500 milliamp battery.
Yes.
But hey, that's what I was saying about the OnePlus 8, and everybody was calling me a liar.
Yeah, no, this is not good. Considering it's an adaptive 120 hertz as well, so it's not always 120 hertz. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'll shut up because, yeah,
we're going to wrap this up. But thanks a lot for everybody who came and hung out tonight. We'll be back again next Friday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Hopefully, y'all have a wonderful and safe weekend.
Wednesday.
And, of course, Wednesday. We have our normal tech show on Wednesday night at 7:30 Central Standard Time, 8:30 Eastern Time, where we talk about the latest and greatest in tech. Or the less greatest, because we may be talking about how much the batteries suck on the Note 20 Ultra next Wednesday.
Like crap batteries. That's right. My Pixel outperforms it like major.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right, I'll shut up.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys. We'll see y'all. Have an absolutely wonderful weekend. Stay safe. And see y'all next week.
Later.